There's certainly going to be universal truths in SEO that are true now and have always been true. So you're going to need to deliver a fast website. You're going to need to deliver a engaging user experience. And you're going to need to have your site well positioned with your keyword targets. And you're going to have some of those off-site authority signals. So no matter what industry you're in, those are like the table stakes. When you start getting into some of those other environments, though, you go back to those three kind of core pillars for leads, sales, and traffic. All those different environment types have a different percentage of those three things that your SEO needs to generate. And for me, the focus has always been more about getting the right traffic as opposed to simply getting more traffic. Doesn't mean I can't get you more traffic if that's really what you want, but come up with a strategy to work with my team to help accomplish those results. But really, what's going to move the needle forward for your business? It's really about identifying the handful of pages on your website that are driving the primary business outcome that you want and doubling down on how can you get more people to those pages where they're going to take the actions that you want them to take. And how can you make that as efficient as possible? You can't be worried about the vanity metrics of driving more traffic, because if you put more information out there and it's purely informational content, you're giving the AI bots, you're feeding them more information to present on your behalf. That's not bad, but that's what you're doing. You're not going to get rewarded with traffic for generating more content. You may get more visibility, you may get more impressions. It's not a linear, more content in, more traffic out. My name is Jonathan Bentz. I am a growth strategist at Direct Online Marketing. While my name is Jonathan Bentz, the only people who call me Jonathan are my mom and the Internal Revenue Service. So for all intents and purposes, please just go ahead from here on out, refer to me by my last name. I'm comfortable with it. Everybody around our company, our clients do it as well. So, and for most of my career, that's pretty much how it's gone. I have been in search engine optimization since 2004. I've worked in agency situations. I've worked in-house, and I've even been in startup environments as well. So I hate to say that I've seen it all, but I sure have seen a lot in 21 years now doing this. So for my role at Direct Online Marketing, I help clients grow in one of three areas. They need more leads if they're a business-to-business company, or they are a consumer services company. We help them generate more sales if they are like a multi-product eCommerce type website. And then the third way that we help them is to try to get more traffic. And traffic has been pretty tough to come by through digital advertising and SEO. It's gotten a lot more challenging here in the last year or so. But for companies, for media companies or publishers who really have that goal of traffic being the gateway to advertising and sponsorships and things of that nature, there are some clients like that we help out as well. Primarily, though, it's leveraging digital advertising or leveraging SEO to drive more leads or drive more sales.
All right. One thing that I want to kind of just jump in is you have worked in different environments. Like you mentioned, startup agencies and the corporate side as well.
Yep.
Does the SEO strategy differ in each setting, or is it kind of similar for each?
I mean, there's certainly going to be universal truths in SEO that are true now and have always been true. So you're going to need to deliver a fast website. You're going to need to deliver a engaging user experience. You're going to need to deliver, and you're going to need to have your site well positioned with your keyword targets, and you're going to have some of those off-site authority signals, on-site and off-site authority signals. You're going to need to have all of those. So no matter what industry you're in, those are like the table stakes. When you start getting into some of those other environments, though, if you go back to those three kind of core pillars for leads, sales, and traffic, all those different environment types have a different percentage of those three things that your SEO needs to generate. So I can go into detail on that, but that really for me is how the three of them change. And it's all about the maturity and sophistication of the business, the maturity and the sophistication of their sales funnels and things like that.
When it comes to challenges in the same areas, would there be, again, like a common challenge for each?
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody struggles to some degree with that, with true attribution. And in today's environment, it's only more complicated. So that to me is always a struggle with trying to fully justify SEO as a channel and the return on investment that it actually gets for you. So that's a struggle for everybody. The other struggle that seems to be industry or environment agnostic is the turnaround times for getting subject matter experts to approve content. However you're generating that content, if subject matter experts from within your company are involved, it's not one of their top responsibilities to support thought leadership. It's going to get lost in a bunch of their other responsibilities.
How do you then, let's say, streamline it in a way where it doesn't get too lost or caught up?
Oh, that's a great question. So there are a couple different ways that I've seen that be done, and they vary from, I'll go from the most involved for the subject matter expert to the least involved for the subject matter expert. So in the most involved scenarios, you are basically positioning them to give you email responses to questions that you need. So you email them, you get their answers, and then you build up a database or a repository of, okay, this person has offered this comment, this comment, this comment, and this comment to these questions. And then you can kind of use those at your disposal. Alternatively, I've seen situations where subject matter experts will be available for interviews. Like if you're working with an agency, they'll be available for interviews, and then you can kind of go through and interview that person and leverage that. And then leverage that throughout your content generation. Alternatively, and you see this on a lot of healthcare websites, where the content may be generated by a person who specializes in content creation, but then ultimately the content is just the medical terminology in the case of healthcare, the medical terminology, or in finance, it would be just verifying the critical information, or if it's legal, the legal implication. Your subject matter expert just kind of serves as a peer reviewer of that content. A little less obtrusive for them, a little less invasive. They just need to be able to work in revising content and reviewing content before it goes live. My favorite example that I'm starting to see with the rise of ChatGPT, with the rise of people starting to create their own GPTs, you can take the thought leadership from a subject matter expert that they've produced over the years and essentially create a GPT for them. And once you create a GPT for them, then then really what you're doing is getting feedback from the GPT and then showing that to the person. And it's the equivalent of a communications or a public relations person ghost quoting an executive as you're getting ready to put a prepared statement out into the market.
I feel like nowadays, like you mentioned, there are just a lot of people who are kind of taking GPT or ChatGPT in general and then just repackaging it in different forms. Mm-hmm. Maybe to be more specific in one area or more, more specific in other areas as well. I think I'll start off with a very broad question. What are your thoughts on AI in general?
So I am pro artificial intelligence because I believe it allows us as professionals to be more creative, be more productive, and really streamline some of those more tedious activities that you spend a lot of your time doing. And so it allows you to do more of the engaging human stuff that stretches your mind as opposed to getting stuck in some of the tedium and the mundaneness of white collar work that I'm sure a lot of your listeners can relate to. So from that perspective, I'm on board with it. I also do believe that there's, as we've seen automation come into industry and manufacturing, as we've seen automation come into other industries and really kind of disrupt it, you kind of have two choices that you need to make with artificial intelligence if you're in the professional sector. You either are staunchly against it, and then over time, that's going to limit your career advancement opportunities, or you need to figure out how to use it and kind of work alongside it. Because I don't know that it's fully going to, I don't see a scenario in our lifetimes where it fully replaces you. But I do see it kind of being a companion tool that you're going to have to use, not unlike what you see in modern manufacturing and modern factories.
To kind of now merge a bit of the two worlds, AI and SEO, what are your thoughts on that? I've heard a lot of people talk about how, I've always heard people say SEO is dead, but I heard more recently that it's AI that's killing SEO. I think you would maybe disagree with that.
I think it's requiring us to really focus on what matters. For a long time as SEOs, we've always had the ability to at least hang our hat on the fact that we got people more traffic. And listen, if you're a startup, you need more traffic, right? If you're not sure about your product market fit, or you're trying to acquire your first 10, 100, 1,000 customers to really try to get traction, there's a certain element there's a certain idea to the fact that you need more traffic. But we hung our hats for so long on writing more content, publishing more content, and generating more traffic, generating more rankings, and not always looking at the business outcomes that our work was actually supposed to be generating for a long time. And what's wild is that we still, all of us, I think, still have clients who up until late last year, probably fourth quarter last year, so October, November, December, I know people's fiscal calendars are different, but until that time frame, people were still very much just focused on, well, traffic will come back. Like, if you get us more traffic, it'll, like, we can turn this around. And I don't know that that's, to me at least, if I was making strategic recommendations to companies today, I don't know that I would look at creating more content as ultimately being the end all be all of your path to success in organic search. And so, the reason for that is because of the depth and the widespread usage now of AI overviews. And just recent history, this is going to timestamp us a little bit, but following Google I/O with their public release of AI mode, now common users are going to have the option of using Google search without even, in an initial result, without even seeing a list of links. And so that game of create more content and they will come, create more content and they will come, create more content and they will come. For now, at least, those days are gone. And so you need to have an alternative. You need to have an alternative strategy that focuses a lot more on your business outcomes and driving results. And you need to be held accountable to driving real business outcomes from your SEO efforts. Otherwise, it's never going to be a positive return on investment.
Yeah, I feel like when ChatGPT had come out, a lot of people were talking about how everyone can create good content now, so all traffic should be increasing. But then that kind of begs the question, if everyone's creating content with ChatGPT, what makes your content stand out more than the other people's content?
Yes.
So I think the question would be, if everyone is using AI and we still have AI overviews as well, what is the winning path for SEO now?
Great question. Well,
the $1 million question.
Well, and this, I think, ultimately ties back to one of my core principles for any campaign that I'm doing, whether it's a business to consumer lead generation, a retail, e-commerce type situation, or a business to business, where you've already identified who your ideal customer is, and you just need to get more of that customer coming into your website. And for me, the focus has always been more about getting the right traffic as opposed to simply getting more traffic. It doesn't mean I can't get you more traffic if that's really what you want, but or come up with a strategy to work with my team to help accomplish those results. But really what's going to move the needle forward for your business? And in a lot of cases, it's not generating more front-end blog content. Or just adding an FAQ to every page on your website. Not that FAQs are bad, but or even in other cases, just go build more backlinks to get higher rankings. It's really about identifying the handful of pages on your website that are driving the primary business outcome that you want and doubling down on how can you get more people to those pages where they're going to take the actions that you want them to take, and how can you make that as efficient as possible. Can you lift them up in keyword rankings? Sure, you can. Can you leverage internal linking across your website to boost them up for keyword rankings? Yes. Can you leverage external backlinking to some of those pages, or external backlinking to the pages that link to those pages when you have a funnel identified? And so those actions to me have always mattered and have always kind of been the ideal client relationship, or the ideal goal for clients, or for if you're in-house for your website. How do you turn your website into a sales machine? But now that matters even more because you can't be worried about the vanity metrics of driving more traffic. Because if you put more information out there and it's purely informational content, you're giving the AI bots, you're feeding them more information to present on your behalf. That's not bad, but that's what you're doing. You're not going to get rewarded with traffic for generating more content. You may get more visibility, you may get more impressions, but it's not a linear more content in, more traffic out.
I think a lot of people are, well, at least some of the people are kind of obsessed with those vanity metrics where you can get a lot of traffic, but you're not getting the right traffic. But it only matters that you got a lot of traffic.
Yeah, well, and even still, if you are getting a lot of traffic, what's
the point of all that
what's
traffic?
The point? For real, what is the point? Now, if you have learned over time that your newsletter really is the driver, and so you have a CTA everywhere to sign up for a newsletter, and that you're feeding you're going top of funnel, but then as you're driving in that traffic, the idea is to get people to subscribe to your email newsletter list, and then you're going to nurture them, and then you're going to sell them that way. Okay, great. But if you don't have a system set up for that, then you're right. A lot of that traffic, truly, what is the point of that besides you can make a pretty chart in your analytics tool and try to justify yourself that way if it's not driving business outcomes?
Yeah, I had something similar, but more on the social media side of things, where we saw these people who had thousands of followers, and if they made a reel, it would get hundreds of thousands of views. And whenever we asked them, hey, what would be your kind of idea for a collaboration type thing? They would always really stake really high prices for them. And we would always ask, well, what's the engagement that you're getting? Because you can get like 1 million views, but if no one likes the video or if no one's commenting and actually engaging with your content, you're only getting views. So what is the reasoning behind the pricing for that at least? Yeah. We couldn't get a straight answer because, again, we wanted to have actual metrics, not just the vanity side of things.
Whether it's social media, whether it's your website, whether it's search engines, chatbots, the engagement to me is what ultimately matters. And even while engagement does matter, if you're getting that engagement on the front end, but you don't have any way to get monetary value or any kind of system set up to get monetary value on the back end, when you get somebody to your website or to your property, that's a lost opportunity.
Yeah, it comes back to the whole, well, what's the point? you have thousands of people engaging with your content, but not a single one who actually wants to buy your service.
Yeah. I mean, unless, like I said, unless your end game as a content creator or as a publisher is pennies for impressions, right? If that's your goal, cool, then lean into that. But if it's with the majority of companies that we serve at Direct Online Marketing, and in your work, I'm sure that you serve as well, that's not what it's about. It's about generating real world revenue and real world business opportunities that aren't fulfilled by just getting clicks into your pages or clicks into your content.
If you had 2 minutes to do a subtle plug to yourself and to Direct Online, I would kind of give you those 2 minutes as a thank you for this entire episode.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So for me, the best place to find me online is to connect with me on LinkedIn. Love doing that with people. In terms of direct online marketing, listen, there's a lot of uncertainty out there right now with how SEO and digital advertising are going to be impacted by this AI world that we're all learning and working through together. If you don't have your analytics right and your data for your platforms set up correctly, then that can lead to problems that are bigger than just my traffic is down, my conversions are down. And so what I would encourage all of you to do, I hope I get this in 2 minutes, but what I would encourage your listeners to do if they have uncertainty either around their data or uncertainty around if they have the right strategy for moving forward with whether they have an agency or they're doing stuff in-house. If they have the right strategy and the right approach for moving forward with their current digital marketing efforts, reach out to us. We do no obligation audits. They are done by humans. It's not just a machine where you can put your data in and you get a templated report back. They're more bespoke, customized, tailored to your goals. But reach out to us and let's see if we can help you either continue your growth path confidently online, or if you're not in a growth pattern and you have a delta that you want to try to close, or you were on a growth track and you're no longer in that motion, reach out to us and let's see if we can help you make sense of what's going on around you and and correct course so that your company, with whatever channels you get the best performance out of, let's help you make sure that you get the most out of those.
And where can people find you?
Great question. Our website is directom.com. Check us out there. And like I said, find me on LinkedIn. There are a couple of Jonathan Bentzes on LinkedIn, but there aren't many who have this hairstyle and this grooming regimen. So if you find the bald guy with the gray in his beard on LinkedIn, named Jonathan Bentz, that's me. Happy to connect with you. And just, if you don't want to take that bigger public step of filling out a form and requesting an audit, but you want to have a conversation with somebody who's been doing this a long time, I'm happy to be that person to bounce ideas off with. Advice is always free.
All right. Again, thank you so much for joining us on this call. I kind of said it would be like a 35-minute thing, but I just really enjoyed it. So this kept going on and on. I hope I didn't take up too much of your time.
No, not at all, man. I appreciated I've appreciated getting to know you and your team here over the last couple weeks, and was happy to contribute the time. Thank you.
Yeah, I guess I'll be seeing you at the start of the next Premier League season.
Absolutely, let's book it for sure.